Have you ever heard stories about haunted universities, creepy libraries, or even dungeons below? Do you remember playing Bloody Mary or Candyman as a child? What about unexplained deaths and people who went missing for no apparent reason? We all love to hear urban legends to get scared by them. That's why we've put together a list of some of the best, strangest, and most well-known urban legends that will surely give you the creeps. The ghosts of Slaughterhouse Canyon are among the most terrifying in Arizona. This creepy canyon has long-standing folklore around it, and the story behind it is awful, tragic, and just plain sad. According to legend, a family lived at the bottom of Slaughterhouse Canyon in the 1800s. Times were tough, and the father would frequently depart for weeks in search of food and possibly gold to keep the family nourished and clothed. You've already guessed the first part of this tragic story. On one of his searches for food and gold, he never returned. Meanwhile, his wife and children were abandoned in the canyon and began to starve. If you scream loud enough in a canyon, the echo would eventually find its way back to you, and as the family began to wither away, their screams from starvation circled all around the canyon. Ultimately, the mother couldn't stand hearing her children's agonizing screams, so she slaughtered them and then took her own life. Visitors to Slaughterhouse Canyon have reported sensing pain in the air. It's said that on nights when the air is silent and still, you can hear the children's and mother's screams as she makes the heartbreaking decision to end their misery. The body under the bed. Couples on vacation. Newlyweds. Guests at Disneyland. These have all been victims of the urban legend about hotel guests who fall asleep peacefully and wake up to a horrible smell from under the bed. A closer look shows that a dead body has been hidden. Probably not anyone who died because of something natural. This urban legend has been confirmed more than once. At least a dozen news stories have reported how hotel rooms have been used to hide bodies. Even though the smell is usually apparent immediately, at least one couple in Atlantic City, New Jersey, slept on a mattress covering a dead body. There have also been reports of it in Colorado, Florida, and Virginia. In 2010, people staying at the Budget Lodge in Memphis were horrified to find out they had been sleeping on top of the body of Sonny Millbrook, who had been missing. Fabric softener had been stuffed into the ceiling tiles to cover up the smell. At least 3 other people had rented the room since Millbrook went missing. Lakeith Moody, Millbrook's boyfriend, was eventually found guilty of her murder. The Candyman. Based on a short story by Clive Barker, the movie Candyman was first released in 1992. It tells the story of a black slave, Daniel Robitaille, who was killed in the 1890s for having an affair with a white woman and his following quest for revenge. Although it's unlikely that you'll be able to conjure him by saying his name several times in a mirror, the idea that a killer will come out of a medicine cabinet is based on reality. Ruth McCoy, a Chicago housing project resident, made a panicked 911 call in 1987, claiming she was being attacked in her apartment. The incident was published in the Chicago Reader. In the end, the people who came to help found her dead from gunshot wounds. After breaking through the connecting wall of the next apartment, her attackers entered her apartment through a medicine cabinet. The medicine cabinet was designed so that if a plumber ever needed to inspect the pipes for leakage, all they would have to do would be to take out the cabinet. Unfortunately, this design became a common access point for thieves, including McCoy's murderers. This Arkansas urban legend about a werewolf-like dog man roaming around the town of Quitman is based on a true story that has been exaggerated. Gerald Bettis was born in 1954, and people would comment on his odd behavior as a child. Neighbors said he was cruel to animals and liked to catch stray animals to do strange experiments on them, which led to his nickname Dog Boy. Some who knew him described his eyes as glowing, and neighbors were terrified of him. As he got older, he became even crueler, not only to animals but also to his aging parents. In 1981, his father was found dead in the family home. The actual cause of his death is still a mystery. Newspapers said he died of pneumonia, but many people in the town thought he was killed by a broken neck after being pushed down the stairs by Bettis. Bettis also kept his mother locked up in the house until Adult Protective Services took her into their care. His mother testified against him in court, and he went to prison, where he died in 1988. However, people say that the house where he grew up and where his father died is still haunted by his ghost. In many versions of the story, his ghost walks on all fours and has fur like a dog. In other versions, he appears as a tall man in a brown jacket and a bow tie. It's fun to tell a story around campfires, but actual sightings are enough to give you bad dreams. In 1970, off Guinea Road in Fairfax, Virginia, a couple told police they had been threatened by a man in a white bunny suit and an axe. They said the man in the suit threw an axe at them because they were in the wrong place. People still see dead rabbits in the woods near Fairfax Bridge, and a white figure is seen late at night under the bridge. The urban legend stems from 1904, when a group of criminals traveled by bus from an asylum in Clifton, Virginia, to a nearby prison. On the way, the bus crashed. Most of the prisoners got away, but the police were able to catch all but one. As they looked for the prisoner, they found skinned, half-eaten bunnies in the woods and hanging from the Fairfax Bridge overpass, which is now called the Boogeyman Bridge. A year later, on Halloween night, a group of teens went to hang out under the bridge. When morning came, they were all found dead and mutilated like the rabbits in the woods. People say that if you hang out under the bridge on Halloween night, you will end up like the rabbits and the teenagers. The famous Goatman of Maryland is said to do everything a crazy half-goat/half-man would do, like kill teenagers, eat dogs, scream like a goat, etc. But the scariest thing is how far back the stories go. At one point, the USDA had to publicly deny that the beast was made by accident in their Beltsville Agricultural Research Center. In another story, a goat farmer discovered that a group of teens had killed his flock. So he went crazy and turned into a goat monster that killed teens. The legend had been around for a while, but Karen Hostler of the Prince George's County News was the first person to write about the Goatman in 1971. The first article was a deep dive into Maryland folklore. The second one was an actual account of a family who thought the Goatman killed their puppy. Then, a month later, the Washington Post told the story of the Goatman as a national story. In the end, the Goatman has become one of America's most persistent and well-known urban legends. People still say they've seen him, and cheesy stories about him still give people the creeps in the old line state. This is the story of a nightmare come true. Cropsey was formerly simply an urban legend, the Boogeyman of New York City's Staten Island. Children were taught to fear the murderer who would kidnap them and take them to an abandoned sanatorium's underground system. Though horrifying, most people dismiss the Cropsey legend as a fable told by parents to protect their children from wandering too far from home, or a scare tactic employed by older siblings to scare their younger siblings. Cropsey was said to be a homicidal madman, an escaped mental patient with a hook for a hand who hunted children and dragged them back to the abandoned ruins of the old Seaview Hospital, a former tuberculosis sanitarium. But in 1987, when Andre Rand was found to be the actual Cropsey killer, the Cropsey legend turned out to be true. Andre Rand worked as a janitor at Willowbrook State School on Staten Island, a location whose name alone may intimidate both adults and children. The school, designed as a relief for children with intellectual disabilities, was discovered to be a living nightmare in the 1970s, but it wasn't closed until 1987. Andre Rand was arrested in 1972 in connection with the abduction of Jennifer Schweiger, a 12-year-old girl with Down syndrome. Jennifer's body was discovered in a small grave on the lonely school grounds where the Wanderer was residing more than a month after she went missing. Rand was arrested and charged with murder. That wraps up our urban legend stories that turned out to be true. We hope you enjoyed them. Comment below and let us know which one you like best. We'll see you in the next video.